Hey guys, welcome to another Monday night episode of Relax, This is Gonna Suck. I'm gonna give it a minute for Shakti to hop on, and then we will get started. Hey! Alright. Hey!
Hey, I actually have no idea what I look like. I did not look in the mirror before pressing join. So I was hoping that I looked cute. I zero clue what I look like before I got on this camera. It occurred to me like the moment I was pressing join that I didn't check that before.
That's really funny. What's even funnier is that you are working, like your face is moving on my computer, but not on my phone.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So, oh well.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
So just to give everyone a heads up, like 20 minutes before we came on live and are both asleep and like exhausted. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. It's been an epic week, y'all. It's been an epic week already.
It is Monday.
It's Monday. It's fucking Monday.
It's been an epic, like last week, the energy of last week, and Shakti, you can talk more about this, but the new moon and the upcoming eclipse, it's just like, I'm like,
Look at my eyes.
Did I just get murdered and come back?
Look at my eyes.
What happened?
What the fuck is going on? That's what was going on in my head. And it's funny because I've felt it on like so many levels. I've felt it like my skin's breaking out, which I don't break out normally at all. And like nothing has changed dietarily in my life at all. My energy level's really different. I want to go to bed super early. Like I really don't want to stay up late at night. There's a lot like food. I'm having a lot of issues around like food. By issues, I mean just like awarenesses coming up around food and behavior patterns and things that I say to myself. Like there's been such a heightened amount of self-awareness. And of course, it being an eclipse and all that, it just doesn't help. That just like amplifies the entire experience. And we're also moving into retrograde. So I have started feeling like the effects of retrograde like July 1st. As soon as it was July 1st, I was like, must be a retrograde this fucking month because nothing's working. Sure enough, look it up. It's coming at the end of the month. And I was like, oh, this must be strong because it started on the 1st.
Well, and retrogrades also bring on looking at your shadows, right? And I was like, oh, that's like, it's all this shit happening at once. Yeah. So actually, we've talked to you guys before about the fact that Shakti and I typically talk a lot, right? Like we're actually friends in real life, not just for the podcast. And we like haven't really talked much this past week. And so when I reached out to her and I was like, what should we talk about? We decided, because there's so much happening. There's been a lot happening in my own personal life. There's been a lot happening in Shakti's life. There's been a lot that just on our own personal journeys that we've been working through. And we had some ideas of things to talk about. Perspective is one of them, right? The power of perspective. And then finally Shakti was like, let's just talk about real life. Like, because she and I haven't really talked much. She knows a little bit about what's going on, and I know a little bit about what's going on with her, but the two of us haven't really talked much. So we're like, let's just have a conversation and let everyone watch. Let's see how that goes.
Because here's the thing, you guys. Here's the thing. We really do this. Like, the way that we get on this podcast tonight and every Monday night and talk to you guys, the way that we help you guys process information, the way that we teach you guys process information, we do this with each other every single day. And there's a reason that we talk about, the value of community and the value of support and the value of masterminds, blah, blah, blah. Because we live that. We live that. And we rely on it to be able to help us move through life staying in a frequency and an experience of life that serves us instead of staying in drama. And so we do this. We do this every single day. We help each other see with a new perspective. We help hold space for each other. This is like our daily life. So I was like, why don't we just do a real life episode and like just show people how we process? You know, not so much teaching you guys on a topic as much as like showing you guys how it is that we work through our shit. Because as Anne said, we've both been going through quite a lot of transition and changes. And I've noticed in my immediate circle, a lot of people are going through like really personal stuff that they haven't even told anybody, but they felt compelled to tell me. And it's a lot about family, and it's a lot of just like issues coming to the surface that are in some cases very long standing, that are suddenly blowing up. In my own family, same thing. And it's like this heightened awareness of like ancestry lines, I feel like, is happening right now. Like all the shadow shit that got brought in from our parents and our grandparents, and the shit that hasn't really been talked about, and the shit that hasn't really been dealt with, and the shit that's just kind of been swept under the rug forever. It's finally coming to a point where there's like a cycle breaker, right? There's someone in the family who's like, yeah, you. Who's like, I'm done with this drama and I don't want to carry it around anymore. And that becomes a really radical moment in time when we decide to do that. And Anne and I are both that in our family lineages. We've both consistently done that in our family. There's a lot of backlash that comes with that. There's a lot of rejection that comes with being that person in the family line. There's a lot of like harsh criticism and a lot of questioning and doubt and, you know, mocking and making fun of. And there's a lot of stuff that comes up when you become the cycle breaker in your family, and when you start to take a stand for those shadowy behaviors that you notice that have just been kind of passed on and nobody's said anything about and nobody's addressed. And so that's where this episode was really born, is because we're both kind of navigating that in our individual lives. And it's like, we need to talk about it, because this is how we process. This is how we get through these things that we are living.
Yep. Yeah. So, like, where do I even begin with this? Yeah. So, I mean, like Shakti said, we're both cycle breakers in our own family. We've been playing this role for a really long time, and for me, many of you have been kind of following me individually for a while, or know me in real life, and you have seen me over time get stronger and stronger in how I speak my truth, how I really show up and share my message. And what's been happening over time is that I've become a lot more grounded and confident in who I am. And I am much more in tune with my intuition now, and I trust myself with messages that come through me. So when a message comes to me, or a topic comes to me, or anything like that, when I feel compelled to share it, I share it. I leave names out. I leave specific situations out, because that doesn't matter. But the underlying truth, the underlying message, does not just pertain to one person, right? So when I share something, I share from a very basic level. But what's been happening is that a lot of people have been getting triggered by my message, and some people get triggered and have the awareness of, wow, I'm really triggered, I should look at this. And then they reach out to me and thank me for it, right? They're like, thank you so much for this message. It spoke directly to me. Some people do not feel that way. They feel triggered, and they immediately go into victim mentality and somehow feel that I'm out to attack them. And I had to really look at this, because this back and forth of me speaking my truth and stepping outside of the box and getting shamed and guilted, and stepping back into the box, and then stepping out and stepping in and stepping out and stepping in, has been an ongoing pattern for me for a really long time. And I did reach out to Shakti the other day, and I was like, you know what? I finally had this realization where this is why I have been playing small. This is why I have a fear of success. Because, you know, we talk a lot about fear of failure, right? There's a lot of fear of failure, but no one talks about the fear of success. What happens if you actually achieve the things that you have set out to achieve? Shakti and I have extremely huge dreams and goals, and a huge vision for how we want to impact the world together, but also individually. And when you have a really strong message that goes against the grain, and you become very confident in who you are and what your message is, that's a lot of times when you get a lot of backlash. And so for those of you who have known me for a while, you may have seen or even energetically felt this back and forth, step out, step in, step out, step in. And so I was like, I've just realized that my fear of success has to do with the consequences of what happens, who leaves my life, where are the boundaries set, if the taunting, mocking, making fun of, bullying continues, right? Because I am the baby in the family. I'm the only girl, and I have a history of being talked down to for like my entire life. I have a history of being made to believe that my voice doesn't matter, that my message doesn't matter, that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And so it's been this back and forth with ego, right? So when we have these stories that have been told to us our entire lives, and then that person who has been saying those things is no longer immediately in your life or immediately saying those things to you, ego takes on that job. So even though there's been moments of time where people, outside of me haven't specifically been saying certain things to me, ego has kept that tape going over and over and over and over and over again. You can't say that because someone will perceive it this way. You can't say that because someone will perceive it this way. You can't say that because this person's going to think it's about them. And it's been this like back and forth, like fucking whack-a-mole game, right? Where I'm like, I don't even know what I can say and what I can't say because it might piss this person off, but this person's inspired, right? And this is why when I talk about people pleasing, you can't fucking do that. Like, you cannot people please, because if you spend so much time being concerned about how other people perceive you. Here's an example. I did a post the other day and it got shared 9 times, had a shit ton of comments on it, had like 40 some likes, right? So clearly the message needed to be heard. And I also received messages from people close to me giving me shit about it. Same message, different perspective, right? And so it's not about what I said. It has nothing to do with what I said. It's that some people were triggered and some people weren't. And so I've had to remain grounded in, this is my message, this is my truth, this is what I'm here to do, this is what I'm here to say, and I give 0 fucks who it pisses off. Because I am no longer available for keeping myself small, and I am no longer available for shutting my mouth, and I am no longer available for silencing my voice. And that pisses people off sometimes.
All the time. I've noticed. Actually. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and your story is, we all have a story like that. We all have a story like that. We all have some way that we have felt diminished in our life. And for me, I was a very sensitive child. For those of you that follow me, are you shocked? I was a really sensitive child, and I cried at the drop of a hat, which I still do. I cry very easily. I get scared quite easily. I don't enjoy gruesome things. I don't enjoy horror movies. I never have. I've never been that kid. And at the same time, I was very loud. I was very dramatic. I was very eccentric. I was very colorful, just like my son. Actually, my son more and more reminds me so much of me. And what I was told my whole life growing up was, you are so dramatic. And not like in a good way. It was like, you're too much. You're too much. You're too loud. You're too over the top. You're too sensitive. You're too. So what I heard growing up is, I'm too everything. I'm too sensitive. I'm too loud. I'm too whatever. And then I became like rebellious against that. And then my youth became, proving that I didn't care, proving that I didn't give a fuck, proving that I didn't blah, 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 proving by rejecting, Does it sound familiar to anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Rejecting everything you were brought up with by being even more aggressive, even more blah, blah, blah. You know, and then I had to like kind of, the older I got, come into myself and be like, okay, I'm overcompensating. Like there's a point in time where I'm now actually overcompensating because I'm hurt. I'm hurt by this, you know? And then I caught myself like Anne on social media, like censoring what I wanted to say, like not really saying what I wanted to say, which I very much teach on alignment, and I'm really no excuses. Like if you want to do something in your life, then you do the thing. Any other reason other than like you're dead is like not a good enough reason for like not doing what you want to do. It's your ego convincing you, it's talking you out of what you don't want to do, which is fine. You just have to know the difference. You have to know that this is not a valid reason. This is an egoic reason for why you're not doing something. And I have really been censoring my message because I was like, I don't want to be too harsh. I don't want to be too much. I don't want to be too blah, blah, blah. And I caught myself like, you're doing that. You're doing the thing. You are replaying this tape that you were brought up with from the people closest to you about who you are. That's who the fuck cares? Like, who cares? Like, this is who I am. And I'm going to be that unapologetically. Yeah, some people get offended. They get offended because I curse. They get offended because I'm pretty no nonsense. They get offended by some... Those aren't my people. Like, it's okay. Like, some people get triggered when Anne posts that. It's okay. That's their journey. Some people get offended when I say something. That's okay. That's their journey. It is not our job to water down our message so that other people are comfortable. And I've said this to Anne from day one. It is not my fucking job to make anyone comfortable on this planet. That's not why I incarnated. Okay? I incarnated to make you uncomfortable so that you can start asking serious questions and step out of that box. And I can't help you do that if I'm not fully who I am. And Anne can't help you do that if she's not fully who she is, which requires that she and I do some serious internal fucking work to stop that dialogue, to stop the back and forth, to stop the censoring, to stop all of that bullshit behavior, which makes us a shadow of who we actually are and waters down our core message, which then gives you permission to water down your message and to water down your experience of life. And I think I speak for both of us when I say we didn't fucking come here for you to be watery. Like, that's not what we came here.
Like, we're both fire signs, okay?
Yeah, like, it's true. And I didn't even realize that. Oh boy. Yeah. So you got an Aries and a Sagittarius on screen telling you to do the thing. Obvious.
I was reading this quote today that I've read a million times and I love it. And it's, I don't know where it came from, but right. And this totally pertains to being a fire sign, right? That, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it's something about, I have fire inside of me. I'll either warm your house or burn your house down. Like, it's like one of the two. Like, you're either going to love my spark or you're going to fear my spark. That's
sometimes both times. That's our friendship. That's like it. That's the perfect definition of our friendship. I mean, this is what we wanted to talk about because we've both been experiencing it this week, and I'm sure if we have, many people have, where this kind of shadowy tendency is coming up, this behavior that we do that really wants to hold us, pigeonhole us in a certain like place so that we don't step out and actually say what we want to say and actually be who we want to be. And again, I always think about what impact is that having on people. And what that does is, again, it allows you to be pigeonholed. It allows you to stay small. It allows you to be watered down, and it prevents you from really having that experience of the trigger. Because when you have the experience of the trigger, that's when you grow. You don't grow when you're like, I'm super comfortable. This doesn't bother me at all. Everything's fucking great. That's not when we grow. We grow when we're like, fuck, this really got into my head, and now it's like testing me. It's testing me internally. I gotta do something about it. That's the moment of growth. The moment of tension is the moment of growth. That's what we came here to do for you, to create that experience of tension in awareness for you to be able to like pop open and say, okay, what's the truth of who I am? What am I doing? Where am I going? Et cetera, et cetera.
Right. When you're triggered, again, you guys know my little quote, right? Where you're triggered is where your work is. If you're triggered, that's it. That's on you. That's in you. If you're triggered, it's not about someone else. But if you're triggered and you're like, oh, someone else triggered me, someone else did this shit to me, then that's putting you immediately in victim mentality. The moment you think that it is someone else's reason or someone else's fault for why you feel a certain way is the moment you're in victim mentality. And if you refuse to look at that trigger, you will continue to stay stuck forever. Forever. And, you know, because like I'm so aware of my previous patterns of victim mentality, like so aware, uber aware to the point where like when even when I believe I have been victimized, I'm like, I'm not a victim. I don't want to be, I don't want to be in this victim mentality. Cause like, so Shakti and I were talking a little bit beforehand and she was like, you know, we should talk about the power of perspective. And I told her, I was like, I'm really struggling with that right now. Like, I'm really struggling with shifting my perspective because I I know where I'm currently at. Like, I'm still working through shit. Real talk. I'm still working through the triggers that I've had in the last week. But there's this balance, right? There's this balance between when someone lashes out at you in an abusive manner, um, and that can trigger you, right? So when someone lashes out in an abusive manner and that triggers you, like, yeah, okay, so it's important to look within and ask yourself, like, okay, why am I triggered? But it's also important to feel the feelings that come up for you. So I've had to like play this balancing act of realizing I'm sitting in this trigger and I'm sitting here shaking and crying. Clearly it's affecting me, right? So I'm having to like look at that, but then also asking myself, why is this triggering me? Oh, it's because it's my inner child that's being triggered. It's my inner child that has been taught that love is conditional. And it's that inner child that has forgotten that love is actually unconditional. And the person who provides that unconditional love is me, no one else. But I have, again, years and years and years and years of people pleasing and, you know, feeling guilty or feeling shame or apologizing for shit I didn't do. You know, taking responsibility for other people's feelings, not my responsibility, right? But that's what I was taught. So I spent so many years people pleasing and doing that because I didn't know how to love myself. That wasn't something that was taught to me. So I was constantly, you know, I was constantly like shifting around, like trying to people please so that I could receive love from other people. And so what I noticed sitting in this trigger was that was the part of me that was experiencing that trigger. That was the part of me that was experiencing trauma. Really, it was like reliving trauma. It was reliving childhood trauma. And so I was, you know, telling Shah today, like, I'm not at the point to be able to, I understand the larger perspective. Like, I understand why this is happening. I understand the growth opportunity. I understand the direction of all of this. I know what I need to do, but I'm kind of still processing what has happened, you know? And there's a balance there. There's a balance between having the awareness of what is going on and how to shift through it and honoring whatever feelings you're feeling. And if it's an inner child wound, if it's a wound from however many years ago that has been triggered because there was some sort of trauma, then honor that, feel it, and love yourself through it.
And yet that is the perspective. That is the power of perspective, of being able to recognize that, right? So when I brought up this concept of perspective, it was to say that whenever something happens in our life, we don't have to like it. We don't have to approve of it. We can be hurt by it. Like, feeling those feelings is absolutely fine. And also, we must understand that the only power we have in any situation that occurs in our life is how we choose to look at it. That's it. Whatever we make a situation mean is the power that we hold. Because things happen every single day. Things that hurt us, things that challenge us, things that want to wipe us out and diminish us, things that want to build us up and grow us. And it is what we make any given thing mean that really determines where we're putting our power. And even in Anne saying something like, I am aware that this is where the trigger is coming from. I am aware that this is what is being actually hurt. And I don't have to play into the drama of that story. I can actually just sit here and be in the trigger and pay attention to what's happening and like the little girl in me that's actually hurt and address her, right? Like that is a really powerful perspective to have, because what ends up happening most of the time when we're really unconscious and we're not aware, self-aware, is we just fight back. Something happens and we fight back, and someone says something and we slam right back at them, and someone barks at us and we just curse them out. And it's like we become embroiled in a drama like immediately. We just sap right into, because we don't have perspective. We've given our power away to the drama. That's what ends up happening. Every time that you give into an argument, period, you're putting power outside of yourself and you're giving it to the drama. You're giving it to the story. You're giving it to the trauma. You're giving it to the abuser. You're giving it to that. And every time that you choose to just be with that experience and feel your feelings and not engage in the drama and not give away your power and not continue to become embroiled, you are reclaiming your power for yourself. And that is what we mean. We don't mean don't feel your feelings. We mean don't give your power away. Perspective allows you to not give your power away. It allows you to know that in any given circumstance, you have power and you can put it anywhere you want, because that's your power. Your innate birthright is that power.
Yeah. And I think it's important for you guys to know and to really hear that. And I know Shakti and I have both been on this journey of not reacting and retaliating right in the moment. Like Shakti and I both have history of being extremely heated people, right?
Oh.
And I mean, I have a history up until about 2 years ago. I mean, it's still fairly recent, right? Like up until not even, no, a year and a half ago, I don't know, but it's been still fairly recent, right? Where I would go from 0 to 60 in a split second. I would like lash out, like lose complete control. It was like having an out of body experience where I would get triggered and I would immediately start screaming, like screaming at the top of my lungs. If it was texting, I was like firing off texts like so fast. The insults were just flying out of me, like, and then I would spiral, like this downward spiral, and afterwards I would feel like this emotional hangover. Well, what's happening and what has been happening is that some moments when I'm triggered, I'm able to remain very calm and grounded and centered. All of that has to do with my self-care routine. I show up for myself consistently. But again, I'm still a human being and I'm not perfect, right? So there are still moments that even though I'm showing up for myself consistently, when I'm triggered, I still feel all the emotions that I felt when I used to lash out. But instead of lashing out, I get my anger out, right? I still release it, but not towards that person. I write it down. I lean on my community, my support system. I get it out, but not towards that person. And so I've really, really been implementing this pause and not giving into the drama, right? So like this drama is something, this is one of the biggest cycles that I am in the process of breaking in my family, right? Like there's a lot of family members who are just addicted to drama, negativity, gossip all the time. Doesn't interest me. I'm totally uninterested in it. And so when things start coming at me, where I used to respond and react and fire back and perpetuate and really add fuel to the fire, I just stop responding. I'm just uninterested. It no longer interests me. And that is when we talk about setting boundaries isn't always about saying something. You can say something, right? But you don't always need to. It could just be the energetic boundary of, I'm done. There's no drama. This is a drama-free zone.
And this is really important. There's a step-by-step to this, right? Because behavior is a result of a story. It's a result of a way of thinking, a patterning in the mind. This is where behavior is born. So when we have this behavior of engaging in drama, we know that there is a story that makes it justified, that makes it like, this is who I am. This is part of my life. This is part of my cycle. And so we must go to the core to undo the behavior. It's not as easy as saying, just disengage, right? Because you're going to try to do that and you're going to be fuming and wanting to die inside because you haven't altered the story. So when Anne said, I can do this because of my self-care routines, that is a giant freaking light bulb for everybody who's watching this right now, who is resonating with everything we're saying. If you are currently not taking care of yourself, body, mind, and spirit on a regular freaking basis, nothing that we're saying to implement is going to make any sense to you when you go to apply it. Because you're going to be so fucking triggered, you're going to fly right off that handle because you won't be able to contain yourself. Because you have not trained your mind to pause. And where you train your mind is in the silence, is in self-reflection, is in all of the self-care routines that we talk about all the time. It doesn't happen in the moment when the trigger is flying at you. That's not when you train your mind to be able to pause. That doesn't work. And I'm sure many of you guys have like tried something we've asked you to try and been like, these bitches are crazy. This doesn't fucking work. And it's because you don't change behavior by just changing behavior. You've got to change the mindset that created the behavior. You've got to go to the source of where the behavior was born, because the behavior is a symptom. It's a reflection of something that you believe about yourself and about your world. So if you're not spending time going inside and really looking at the belief systems, then you can't really address the core of the behavior. You can't implement the things that we're talking about implementing, because it's not going to feel easy. It's going to feel worse than just fighting back, right? Fighting back is going to feel really fucking comfortable because it's really familiar to you. That's why it feels comfortable. That's why it feels right to defend yourself or like jump out at someone, because it's what you're used to doing, and your ego's like, this is just what we do, right? Well, it's you trained that.
And also fighting back, when you fight back, you have an immediate sense of release. So if you get that release in the moment, and then you're like, oh, this feels like shit later, right? Because it doesn't actually solve anything. But that feels good if you're not using other ways to release, like working out. Right? Like when I was working out this morning, I was like, thank you, Jesus, for weightlifting, because otherwise I might murder someone.
And you know what you just said is the same thing with food.
Yep.
It's the same fucking thing. If you are not implementing some way to release energy around wanting to like mindlessly eat, you're gonna eat. You're gonna eat things you know you shouldn't eat. We do the same thing everywhere, you guys. This isn't like rocket science. Like how we do anything is how we do everything, right? So think about what Anne just said, and look at the ways in your life where you are actively doing that, where you're like actively sabotaging yourself, right? Like it's gonna feel good in the moment to eat 12 cookies, right? In the moment, you're gonna be like, these cookies are fucking bomb, and then an hour or two later, you're going to be like, God damn it, I shouldn't have eaten those 12 cookies. Maybe one, but fucking 12 was way too many cookies, right? Because it's the same thing. We're looking to assuage a feeling, and because we haven't practiced pause and we haven't practiced mindfulness and we don't have the tools that we're implementing, we just need release in that moment. We need any form of release that we can get. So we're going to eat the 12 fucking cookies, and we're going to fight back, and we're going to shop with money we don't have, and we're going to engage in behaviors that don't serve us because we're just looking to get some pressure out of the valve, and we don't have other tools to do that with. This is why those tools are so important. Moving your body so energy doesn't get stuck. Putting good food in your body and paying attention to your nutritional habits so you're not engaging in mindless food that's not nourishing to you, and it's really just wasteful energy. having a self-reflection practice like meditation and journaling, having a mastermind, a community to lean into. These things are vital and they serve a direct purpose in helping you process. They're not accessories. They are the way. They are the path. They are the things that you use, the very legitimate practical tools that you use when you're navigating the shit that we're talking about right now.
Right. And especially, so I want to talk about the community a little bit. I mean, we talk about community a lot, but, you know, I consider myself to be a very self-aware person, right? And I know what's going on in the middle of things. And even in the midst of all of this, even though I was able to like look at everything that was going on and I knew that I wasn't crazy and I knew that everything would pass, like I have all the tools, I'm doing all the things, you know what I mean? Like I take really good care of myself in all areas, but being able to reach out to my mastermind that Shakti's a part of and just to be able to get it out, or to say, can you please hold space for me? You know, like I'm processing through this stuff and I know what I need to do. Like I don't necessarily need anything. I just need you to hold space. But even today, like she and our other friend who are in the mastermind, like both of them just said, you know, I'm really proud of you. Like I've seen your growth over time and you are doing a phenomenal job. And just being able to heal, like it's one thing to go through the journey and know that you're doing what you need to do. Know, like trusting yourself, connecting with yourself, following your intuition, doing like that's fine. But to have someone else say to you, I see you. I see what you're doing. I see how you're showing up. I see the progress you're making. I see you, right? And I told them, I said, it feels so amazing to feel seen when I currently feel rejected by these people in my family. I can love and accept myself, right? And that's great. But it still doesn't take the place of support and community from other people. And especially when you're experiencing backlash from others, it's nice to just be reminded that you're not alone. And if you're in the process of your own personal growth journey, you're going to trigger people. You're going to piss off people. People will reject you. People will shun you. People will try to drag you down. And if you don't have a community of support, you're fucked. You're fucked because it's so much easier to go back to what's familiar, right? To go back to the old patterns, to go back to the guilt, to go back to the shame, to go back to apologizing for other people's feelings, to go back to the people pleasing, to go back to the perfectionism. It's easier to go back to that because it's familiar. And so when you support yourself with community, it's so that you can be reminded of what you're here to do, the growth that you're wanting to make, the mission that you're on, whatever it is. Just to have other people saying, like, I see you. I see what you're doing, right? No, you're not perfect, but you're doing a phenomenal job. Keep going.
The thing about community is it holds the belief for you when you don't have belief for you. That's what it does. It allows other people to hold the truth of who you are clear in their minds. You as capable, you as able, you as strong, you as living your purpose and mission when you are wavering. That's the beauty of community. You get other people to hold that for you so that you can get back to your own belief. So when you waver, you can reconnect with that through their belief, because belief is contagious. And if you have a community of people believing in you and being proud of you, some point in time you're going to come back to that feeling and make contact with it because they are holding it for you. And that is a beautiful gift to be able to give another human being, is to be able to supply them with your belief when they are struggling, or with your support when they are struggling with giving themselves support. And to me, that has been the most amazing component of we have a team of coaches, Beachbody coaches, fitness coaches. That's been the most amazing component of that team. It's been the most amazing component of our personal mastermind. It's been the most amazing component of every community I've ever been in, is to be surrounded with this contagious sense of belief. that even on my worst day, on our most challenging days, we can lean into them and they can hold the space of belief for us. And that's so powerful. I don't think you can really understand how powerful that is until you're there and you're like, wow, like what a thing to be, what a gift to be given from community, from people outside of you.
Well, and especially too, like when you're in, it's obviously important for anyone, but when you're in the position like Shakti and I are, and other coaches on our team and other people who we know, when you're in the position of leading, when you're in the position of mentoring others, when you're in the position of teaching, the communities that you have cultivated don't always feel like the best places to show up and be like, hey guys, I'm really struggling today. You know? And so, and I have community, like my virtual classroom, for instance, my virtual classroom knows, you know, specific things that I've been working through because I use my own process as a teachable moment, right? I use my own journey to teach from. So they may not know the details, but they understand the gist of what's going on because I teach from it. But it's different than being able to lean into a community and say, I just need to be held right now. Like, I just need to be supported. And so even though I'm a leader in meta movement, I still went in there the other day and I was like, I just need you guys to just hold some space for me because I'm really struggling today, you know? And this is also the power of when you have been there for other people, and Shakti has talked about this before, that not just on our own personal pages and having created the community, but one-on-one with other people who you've helped, right? So when you have been in the position of supporting other people and really, really, truly being there for other people, they can't wait to offer you that support back. And so, you know, I have someone who is a former client. She's now a coach on our team, and we have a lot of similarities in our past. And, you know, she reached out to me and she's like, I just want you to know you're loved. I just want you to know you're supported. I just want you to know that you matter. And I don't think that she even fully understands what that felt like to me. To be someone who has always been or always tried to be or has kind of put on the front of I'm the strong one, right? No matter how hard things get, I can always pick myself back up. No matter how hard things get, like I can just keep on moving, right? I mean, I'm an Aries, so I can get through a lot of shit and like still survive. But to be able to just kind of like lay the armor down is huge for anyone.
Yep. I think that's powerful leadership, period. I think that's the power of being a really conscious leader. I mean, I did that today in our team page. I went and I talked about discouragement as a real fucking thing that happens, especially as an entrepreneur, like every single day. You face discouragement. That's like a daily thing. Like you clock in and you're like, hey, discouragement, what up?
Good to see you again.
We're gonna today get more discouraged? I figured. That's a daily thing. And I went in there and I was like, look, when we get discouraged, we have options, and this is what I'm doing with my current situation. I think that is the value of really conscious leadership and of conscious communities where you can feel safe enough, even as a leader, to go into that space and say, this is what I'm working through. Yep. And this is what's going on. And then use it as a teachable moment even. Yep. You know, like that's really powerful. And I think that's really unique to our community in particular. I think that's really special about community, and the way that it's reciprocated is really special, which I'm like obsessed with. That's why I love it so much.
Yeah, and we hear a lot of feedback all the time, right? That people really appreciate when Shakti and I really are extremely transparent, right? Of like, I don't have my shit figured out all the time, and today I'm struggling. It is what it is, you know, but I'm still doing X, Y, and Z. I'm still doing my morning routine. I'm still showing up for my business. It may not be in the ways that I planned, right? And I've had to do a little bit of catch up because there have been some unexpected things that have popped up, but I have still shown up and done something for my business every single day. And that knowing from like where I've come from is huge. And a lot of people who run businesses feel like life is crazy, so I'll just put my business on the back burner. And like, you can't do that, guys. And
Nope.
and honestly, part of the reason I've been so triggered is because I'm like, this shit is fucking with my energy that I need for my business. Like, this is how I make a living. And this is also why I have no tolerance for drama coming into my life. I have no tolerance because I'm like, I don't have a 9 to 5 job and then I'm building a business on the side. My business is my life. My business is my paycheck. My business is how I pay for everything, right? My business is how I buy food. So I have no tolerance for that shit at all.
No.
Because I'm like, and you talked about this, Shakti. I think it was in our mastermind, but because I think you were talking about mindset or energy or something. But my energy is too valuable, right? My energy is way too valuable to just be giving my power away to other people. Because if I can't show up in the way that I want to show up, I don't want to say I'm worthless because that's not true. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, that's not the message I'm trying to get across. But you know what I mean.
This whole concept of showing up, I get messages all the time like, how do you show up every single day? I see your videos, I see your stories, you're up at 5, you're working out, you're slaying your day, you got a toddler, you got like a business, like what is your secret? And I'm like, you know what my secret is? Fucking grit. Mm-hmm. That's my secret. I am the most consistent motherfucker you guys are ever gonna see on here. And that's because I know that if I'm not practicing all of these things, that I cannot have the experience of life, the quality of life, the perspective in my life that I need to have to be able to navigate my life at the frequency I want to navigate it at. I know that if I am not up at that time to spend time with myself in quiet, to work out my body and then nourish my body and then take care of my team, which is like a new family that I've cultivated for myself, and then my clients, like if I'm not doing those things, I cannot experience the level of perspective, the level of harmony, the level of joy that is like a requirement now in my life in order for me to experience the quality of life that I want to have. It just won't happen. So it is so essentially important to me that come rain or shine, come fucking anything my way, those things are going to come first. Nothing gets in my way. And I tell you, that Ann and I will tell you right now, when you adopt that philosophy and you stop making excuses for yourself and you stop saying, well, life is hard, I'll do it later or tomorrow or blah, blah, blah. When you stop letting your ego win every single time with that dang argument, your life will change dramatically, and you will have the power of perspective that we are talking about, because you will get it. You will get how every single thing is actually a choice. There's no such thing as like, I don't have the time to do that, really. I don't have the money to do that, really. I don't have, like, all of that is a story. It's drama. It's drama that your ego's really familiar with, and it's just like wrapping you in and reeling you in and reeling you in and keeping you where you are, and your life doesn't change and you don't go anywhere. And 2 years from now, you're in the same exact situation you were 2 years ago. Meanwhile, homegirl over there is like running and having a bomb-ass time at life. What was the difference? Perspective. What was the difference? A decision that's simple. So Anna's going through serious shit right now. She's still showing up for her business. She's still showing up for her people. She's still present in her team, and she's present with her clients. And that is fucking mastery. That's called mastery. That's called being a boss. That's what being a boss is about. It's about not making excuses. Like, we were both exhausted as hell before getting on this podcast. Do you see our face on this podcast? Yes. Because we made a commitment to this podcast. Right? That's what being a boss is about. You want a boss life? You want a life that is like perpetually about growth, perpetually about nourishment and fulfillment? Then you make boss decisions. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. It's simple.
Yesterday I went out to, by the way, Shakti, I went out and had a bubble tea here. There's like a ton of places in Iowa City. I was like, I know. I was like, oh God, I gotta get it. So I introduced a former client, teammate, and friend of mine. We went out yesterday for bubble tea, and we had a really interesting conversation. But one thing that she said to me that really stuck with me yesterday was, because we've been working on and off together for like the last couple of years, right? and we were talking about how we were working together through I was going through a breakup. And then also when I was prepping to leave Chicago last year. And both like excruciating times in my life, right? And she's like, you were fucking professional. Cause I never knew. Like, I mean, I'm sure she saw stuff that I posted on Facebook and knew in that regard that I was going through stuff. But she's like, I never knew that you were going through anything. And I said, yeah, because I leave my shit at the door. When I show up for a one-on-one client session, when I show up to teach a class, when I show up, I show up. Like even showing up on this podcast, right? Like I can compartmentalize what I'm going through and I can show up to do the job. That's my job. That's my job, is to be able to put my shit aside and show up. But I can guarantee you that there is no way in hell I would be able to do that if I wasn't showing up for myself. I'd be a fucking mess. I'd be a fucking mess.
Take it to church, bring it back around. Nobody went to church and nobody had to leave. That's called living a boss life. That's what that is. That's what bosses do. They show up. And they show up because all of them, with the exclusion of maybe none, okay? None. If you look at people who have highly successful lives and who lead large groups of individuals that have massive impact, all of them have a very serious self-care practice. Insanely serious. I mean, wake up at 5, work out, meditate. They have mentors. They have coaches. They are like on their fucking game because they understand that it directly impacts their impact. They cannot serve where they need to serve if they are not doing the things. That's it. It's real simple. So, I mean, we love listening to you guys tell us, I'm so inspired by you. That's awesome. What we want to know is what you're going to do with that inspiration. Like, ultimately, where are you going to take that? Because there's only so much you can sit and say, I'm so inspired. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with the inspiration? How are you going to implement that? How are you going to put it into motion? How are you going to take everything that you get from this and apply it so that you have a different perspective, so that you understand the power of perspective? Because at that point, you're actually doing the work. At that point, you're actually changing, and your ego's not just satisfied hopping on a podcast and saying, well, I listen to this podcast every Monday night, so I'm changing. Like, no, you're actually not. You're just receiving information, and your ego is then filing it away as an accomplishment when nothing has changed.
Right, because some of you, I mean, like, I'll be real, some of you I've known for a couple of years, and shit's still the same. Mm-hmm. Shit's still the same, but you've been, like, reading my shit for years. Shit's still the same. Mm-hmm. And we hear this all the time, right? Like, I'm so inspired, but, like, I don't have the same motivation as you. I didn't have the fucking motivation. I just showed up. Like, I just had to put one foot in front of the other, right? And sit on this couch and show up. You know, I set my alarm at 5. I'm not always perfect with getting out of bed at 5. I'm a human being. But I still get up every morning, and I still sit my ass on that pillow and meditate every morning, and I still work out every morning, and I still, like, I do all the things. I don't have motivation. I create that shit. Like, one of my favorite, I don't remember where it came from, but somewhere where I'd listen to, just like you don't have electricity, you create electricity. You don't have motivation, you create motivation, right? Like, you just show up. You just do it. When ego says, oh, I'm tired, oh, I'm broke, I don't want it, whatever, you don't listen to it. That's how you create motivation. You don't listen to it. You ignore that shit and you move on.
I mean, you do it with your toddlers every day. Like, you should be able to do it with your ego, because Lord knows I don't listen to you. They're the same. Toddlers. I want cookies. I want ice cream. I'm like, okay, kid, you can want that all day long. I mean, I'm going to give it to you. I mean, we have so much awareness when it comes to a small child, but when it comes to our own ego, we're like, oh, guess it must be true. Guess it must be true. Guess I'm going to give my ego all the ice cream and cookies it wants, because it's telling me it wants ice cream and cookies. You wouldn't do that to your toddler. I'm assuming you wouldn't. You'd be like, no, it's dinner time. You're not going to have ice cream and cookies. You're going to eat this freaking dinner. Right? But for some reason, when it comes to our ego, like, we won't do that. We just let it slide. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it Monday. I'll start blah, blah, blah. I need to save up money when I'm in a better place. You know, things that we hear all the time that are really just fear is all that it is. Just fear. And we're telling you this, like, we have been through so much hard shit in the past 2.5 years that we have been journeying together, like really working closely together. We've been friends for a long time. We've really been journeying tightly for the past almost 3 years. We have been through so many rock bottom moments and so many experiences that were gruesome and painful. And what it came down to was a decision, a decision, a decision, not an option, not an interest, a decision to move beyond it and to become the kind of people we needed to become to overcome that thing. Because when you come up against something, you're not always going to be the person that's paired for the situation. You're going to have to become a different version of you to overcome that thing. You're going to have to become a different version of you to rise up on certain situations. And that is your job. That's what you came here to do. You came here to become and continue to become. And if you don't, you keep feeling that tension. You keep doing the whack-a-mole thing. You keep being in and then out, and then in and out, and then you never have consistency, and then you don't have motivation. And then you tell yourself, I'm just not a motivated person. You tell yourself, I'm just not a motivated person. No, it's not that you're not a motivated person. It's that you're not generating motivation. No one handed us motivation like you will be more motivated and you will be more motivated and everybody else is fucked with motivation. That's not how we were dished out motivation when we came into this planet. And Brendan Burchard says that, like, a power plant doesn't, it generates energy. It doesn't have energy. It fucking generates it. That's its job. That's our job too. That's our job. And you can do that no matter what's happening in your life. You can do that. That's your power, tying it all together. That is your power. Your power is that you can choose. You can choose your perspective. You can choose your energy level. You can choose your grit. You can choose. You can always choose, no matter what.
Well, a lot of times we believe, right, that when we experience pain, when we experience discomfort, when we hit the edge of our comfort zone, that it means, oh, it's not right. Oh, I'm experiencing discomfort. That means it must not be right. No, it's not. It's not that. It's not that it's not right. It's that in order to become who you need to become, in order to live the life that you want, you literally have to become a different person. And you're basically giving birth to a new version of you. I've never had children, but I know that Shakti can share with us. That doesn't feel good. It's not like hold on. It's not like when Santi started coming out, she was like, "Oh, this is uncomfortable. I guess it's not right. I guess I just leave that baby in there."
Get back in, kid. Get back in. What are you doing? It's a perfect analogy. I mean, birth is so hard. It is so difficult. And I remember in the middle of my contractions looking at my husband and saying, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And that was such a genuine thought for me. Like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. And then my doula, bless her heart, after I finished delivering a child, she looked at me and she said, do you know that the whole time you were having contractions, you never once said, I can't do this. You just said, I don't know how. And she said, and because that was your perspective, you had one of the most amazing births I've ever been with and witnessed in the years that I've been doing this. You had so much self-control because even though you didn't know how, you trusted that you were going to figure it out. You never once said, I can't do this, which automatically blocks you up and prevents you from performing. Somehow I knew that in that moment, that even though I didn't know how to do something, I was going to have to figure it out. And it hurt like hell. And I had an amazing birth. I really did. It was flawless for all intents and purposes. And I had no idea what I was doing or what to expect the whole time. So I passed that analogy on to you guys. It hurt. This podcast is not called Relax. It's going to be easy. That was the name of the podcast is called Relax. It's going to suck. But again, the relax is your power. The relax is your choice. Things are hard. Becoming more is hard. Growing is hard. We're not going to deny that to you. But you have power. You have power and you have the ability to decide at any given point in time how you're going to look at your situation. That's all you guys. 100%.
Yep. And that's it for tonight. We thought, oh, this might be a short one. Nope, we went over. Because, you know, this is just what we do. Yep. Because us. Thank you to everyone who hopped on tonight. Thank you for giving your love and support. Thank you for sharing. I know we have some comments that we'll go back and read. Thank you for showing up with us every single Monday night and allowing us to come into your homes and be raw and uncensored and unfiltered in the moments that we have nothing planned, you know? So thank you. And if you feel like this would resonate with someone, tag them below, share it, and let us know how we can be of service to you guys.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
All right. Bye.